Here is my recap on Dexter Season 6, Episode 6, which is entitled Just Let Go. All right, this episode was another one of the more interesting episodes of the season, and the storylines were all over the place. There's a reason why it was called Just Let Go, because in the last episode, we found out that Sam, who was played by Mos Def, was gunned down at the very end of the episode. Well, you find out at the beginning of this episode that he is not dead. They were able to take him to the hospital. He was in a coma. Later, Dexter gets a call saying he's probably not going to make it. He gets to the hospital and finds out that Sam actually has regained consciousness, and Dexter goes in to talk to him. Now, in the meantime, prior to this happening, Dexter did some investigation, an investigation of his own on who would have done this to Dexter. And the whole police department was there, but Dexter remembers that, he had hit one of the gang members with a bat, and he figured one of the gang members came back and was doing retaliation on Sam. So he went and found that bat in the back room and took some blood off of it and tried to do some investigation on his own. Well, they were doing a vigil for Sam at his place of business where he fixes cars at his shop. And Dexter talks to somebody there. That person that he's talking to, he tries to get information from him to find out who might have done this to Sam. He thought it might be a retaliation from one of those gang members. Well, the police also kind of get on their trail, and there's a big shootout at that gang's, at one of the houses of one of the gang members, and they get killed. Well, come to find out later, when Sam does regain consciousness, he does call Dexter in there, and he tells Dexter who actually killed him, and it was the guy who gave him information. This is the same guy that Sam had actually taken from his home and had put in the trunk of his car, and Dexter thought he was killing him. Sam had basically saved his life and was trying to get him to go down a good path. When Dexter finds out that this was the same individual who shot him, he was shocked. He tells Sam at that point that I basically have a darkness inside me, and I'm going to get revenge. Sam tells him, no, don't do that. He goes, I need you to do something for me. He said, I need you to forgive him. I need you to find him and tell him you forgive him. You're the only person that I trust to do this. And so he does. He does go find him. Now, this surprises Dexter. He feels like he really needs to take this guy out because of his code. Sam does tell him, I see the darkness in you, but I also see the light. So at the end of the episode, the very last scene is Dexter getting this guy out on the beach alone at night and tells him, do you recognize this place? And the guy says, no. He goes, well, you should. This is where you were baptized. He goes, well, yeah, I know that. And that's when he tells him that Sam told him that he had killed him and that he knows. And the guy seems pretty distraught, feels like Dexter is going to turn him in. And Dexter's like, no, I'm not going to turn you in. And the guy's like, what are you going to do with me? And he says, well, Sam wanted me to forgive you, and that's why I'm here. So the guy starts kind of having a little bit of a breakdown, and he's like, great. Now nobody will know it was me. There's no proof. I'll get away with it. This enrages Dexter, and Dexter actually gets this rage and pushes him out into the water right there on the beach and drowns him. And then he comes out and somebody's clapping, and he turns around and it's his brother from season 1. And his brother says, I've missed you. And so Dexter does go a little bit off the deep end. Now, there are a couple of things I forgot to mention in a previous recap. One of those is that we've got Dexter's sister actually got a place to live. There was a murder in one of the previous episodes at this tenant's house out by the beach, and there's still blood and stuff. And she goes there with the new partner not new partner, but the new detective. And they actually end up getting this guy to release the building to her for, I think it was a third or half off of the rent, maybe a quarter, something like that. I can't remember how much off the rent she's going to get for living there, but she says, I'll take it and I'll even clean it. That was the deal, is that if they clean it, she can have it because she needed a place to live because she's no longer with Quinn. And that's kind of another storyline that we had in this episode, is we had Quinn who, he had slept with this witness who had spent time with the cult leader. And you find out in this episode that she actually has a little bit more to do with this than we may have thought. There are some pictures that surface that shows that girl that Quinn had slept with had posed for some pictures that were directly related to some of the killings. And so she gets called in, and Quinn is afraid that Deborah's going to find out that he slept with her. And that does happen. And Deborah gets really pissed off because this could totally derail the investigation and could cause some major, major issues. So she's really mad at Quinn. Quinn then goes on a binge, gets drunk later, shows up at her house or at a party that they're having, and he confronts her and asks Deborah, did you ever love me? And this is after he makes some remarks, and Batista actually has to punch him out and knocks him to the floor. And they want to get him out of there, maybe call a cab, get him home. But Deborah's there, and he goes face to face with her, and he asks her point blank, did you ever love me? And she has no response. And he's like, that's what I figured. And so that's what we've got going on with that storyline. We've now got the big storyline here, which was, these biblical killers. I forget what they called them in the last episode, doomsday killers. And we found out that Travis, the younger one, played by Colin Hanks, has not killed anybody. And Dexter is still following him. And he actually gets called to the scene where Sam is at the very beginning of this episode. When Dexter is following him, he wants to see who he meets up with and who his partner is. But he gets a call that Sam has been shot. He has to leave just as Travis is about to get there and meet Edward James Olmos's character. So they meet up, and Edward James Olmos tells him, you have got to step up. He's a little disappointed. They kept the girl that, they had him Travis run over in the previous episode. She's tied up, and he's supposed to brand her and do something with her. But Travis has a crisis in this episode, and he can't quite get himself to do it. And so he ends up letting the girl go. When he was supposed to do something with her, Edward James almost walks off and says, when I get back, this better be taken care of. And instead, he has a crisis and can't kill her. So he takes her to the beach, and she's still blindfolded, so she doesn't know who did this. And he lets her go and tells her, you are free. So we're going to see what comes of all of this here in the future. So Dexter's got some things going on. Deborah is also, one thing I forgot to mention is she is seeing a psychiatrist. And at one of the last scenes in the episode is she's sitting in her house, wondering where Dexter is. She's trying to get a hold of Dexter, and he's not answering because he's on the beach with that guy who killed Sam. And she's wondering where he is, and he's not there. So she's kind of distraught with everything that's happened. She's having a hard time fitting in at the police department. You see that a lot through this episode. And so she's questioning everything, and she's having a hard time. So one of the last scenes with her is looking at the card for her shrink, and she's going to go, you assume she's probably going to call her for some help. So we're going to see where this goes. This is the halfway point of this season. Again, it's still not my favorite season. It's my least favorite of the 6 seasons so far, but we're going to see what these last 6 episodes have in store for us. Again, I have forgotten everything about these episodes since I first saw it, and we're going to see where this leads us. So I do appreciate the support. If you like these videos, please hit the like button, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and you will be notified when I have new videos go up. I will be recapping every episode leading up to the premiere. I hope to have these done long before then, so you're going to see these videos released pretty quickly, one after the other. I do appreciate it. We'll see you guys on the next recap.